Sometimes doing the right things on purpose instead of just kind of stumbling upon them can speed up your learning curve immensely. So tonight we're going to be going over the top 10 mistakes to avoid. Awesome. All right. So without further ado, we're going to get into a couple things, guys. But information without context is kind of doesn't make sense, right? Like I could give you the lyrics for the coolest song in the world, but if you don't hear the background music, it's not that helpful. So what I want to do, guys, and I do this often, is to put this into perspective for you. And for those of you that are hopping on Face in the group, do me a small favor and go ahead and smash that like button and smash the heart button. What it does is it tells the Facebook algorithm that we got a ton of people on here, everybody's engaging, and it sends more people our way. It's what we want to do. Help me. If you guys can help me pay it forward, I'm trying to share with this with the widest audience as possible. So help me help others. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So number one, we're going to go through this again. What is your gap? What are we referring to? It's called the information gap theory. And the theory states this: there is a gap in everybody's information of what they know versus what they need to know to accomplish a certain task. So what does that mean is, okay, do me a favor and write down what you want to earn over the next 12 months. Okay? Just write down a piece of paper. Type it into your phone, whatever. You don't have to share it with everybody in the comments, but just do me that favor. Okay? What you want to earn in the next 12 months. Okay? Which so far everybody should know. And if you don't have a goal, you better get goal oriented, because this business, if you don't know where you're heading, you're always going to hit it, right? If you're just kind of meandering saying, yeah, I'm going to make whatever I can, that doesn't cut it. The way to achieve goals is to figure out what your goal is and then reverse engineer exactly what you need to do, what you need to do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, or else how do you know if you're ever going to hit your goals, okay? So step number one, what your goals are for the next year. Step number two, and just below that number, write down what you made over the last 12 months, okay? So go ahead and write that down. Step number two, below what you want to make in the next 12 months, write what you made in the last 12 months. This is important. This is where the rubber meets the road, guys, so to speak. What comes down to, okay, is subtract the second number from the first number. So let's just say, for instance, you want to make 200,000 next year, and last year you made 100,000. The 200,000 minus 100,000 equals a gap of 100,000. Like say you want to make 500,000 next year, and you made 250 last year. 500 minus 250 equals 250. You with me? So whatever that number is. Now do me a favor, guys, and in the chat here on Zoom and in the comments in the Facebook group, write down what that gap is. Whatever the gap is between what you want to earn next year and what you earned last year. Okay? Because what you're trying to do, guys, you're trying to close that gap. Okay, and you being here tonight is one step in the right direction of closing that gap. Because if you already knew all the things you needed to be successful to earn the kind of money you want, you'd already be doing it, right? Because no one's going to under-earn if they knew how to do it. Like, show of hands, guys, if you knew how to be making $1 million, you think you'd be doing it, or you'd just be earning 50,000 a year? No, heck no. If you knew how to do it, you'd be doing it already. So the point is, there is a gap in between what you know and what you need to know, okay? And that's your information gap. So if you could go ahead and put that in here, let's see, let's get a little bit of an engagement here. What do we got? We got 315, good. Eric, 100, good. Love it. 75,000 from Josh. Yes. 250 from Olga. Yes. Okay. Good. Okay, guys, that's what I'm talking about. Mark's 200. Awesome, guys. Let's do what the folks say on Facebook here. All right. Here we go. All right, Facebook folks, come on. There we go. Manny says 120,000. Good, guys. Okay, because the first step in solving the issue is realizing what the issue is and then quantifying it, and then we'll figure out a strategy of how you need to do it. Like, so for instance, Manny's here in Miami, $120,000. Our average sale here in the state of Florida is 1.9 million. That's average of like 54,000 aside. He wants to close that gap. Guess what? He can close that gap in like 3 transactions, 2.5 transactions at the average sale price. Okay, so what do we need to do to close 3 more transactions? You got to take about 8 or 9 more listings, because most people sell about 1 out of 3 that they sell, because things have been a little wonky lately with interest rates. So the question for Manny is, if he wants to close a $120,000 gap, he's got to take 8 more listings than he did this year, next year. Okay, that's how you start closing this gap. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. I just want to put this into context. So now you guys are here. You know what the difference between what you know how to do and what you want to know how to do is here. 315 for Kristan, 200 for Mark, 150 for Olga, and so forth. Okay, so now that we know the why, let's talk about the what. What you need to do and what you need to avoid so that you aren't limiting yourself. Okay, so tonight we're going to do David Letterman style, right? We're going to do a reverse countdown from 10. So this is compiled not only from my own experience, but also my students. I've done surveys with my students, and after they get done, they going through the first 12 months of the program. I said, guys, what do you wish you knew first day? Because sometimes I might overlook something. So without further ado, drum roll, please. We have number 1 or number 10. And mind you, as we get lower down the list, they get more and more important, okay? But this is not unimportant. Dedicate time to research before picking up the phone. For any of you that want to make a lot of money, you need to make a lot of dials. You need to contact a lot of people. This is a contact sport, guys. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. It is literally that simple, okay? So the best way to do that is to batch your work. What do I mean by batching your work? Henry Ford created the assembly line, right? They figured out that people can work better, more efficiently, more effectively if they do one task at a time. I myself am not very good at switching gears, and most people are like me in the sense that if you have to go into CoStar, find somebody's name, research them, pull up a different software, try to make a few phone calls, try to get them on the phone, that's like 4 steps, right? Doesn't work, right? You'd be better off on the weekend to pull a list of people, go through that list, filter through it, then go to your software that helps you find phone numbers, go through there, make call list, and then when the time is right in the mornings between 8 and 10 a.m. every day, you already have everything laid out for you. So all you have to do is do the thing that's going to put the most amount of money in your pocket, and that's reach out to new people. You guys with me on that? That makes sense? Yep. Okay, cool. All right, so number 1, dedicate time to research before picking up the phone. Don't try to do them willy-nilly. You'd be much better off spending a Saturday afternoon researching 20 or 30 properties and then come in on a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning and bang through those numbers. You will make a lot more money. You'll get better. You'll get more momentum. You'll get into a rhythm, and you'll make a lot more calls, and you'll reach out to more people. Okay, next one. The next one of the top biggest mistakes is not learning your contract and paperwork cold. Guys, think about what you're trying to do when you go to list somebody's property. You are trying to talk this person into giving you a multi-million-dollar, in a lot of cases, investment of theirs to sell, and you had better know the contracts and the paperwork on what it takes to sell that property, right? So whenever you guys are doing any work, I recommend you utilize whatever paperwork your local board of realtors has. Why? Because every lawyer has seen it, every other broker has seen it, many of the sellers and buyers have seen it. It makes things a lot easier. But take the time to learn it, understand it, and if you really, really want to be a high-level broker and represent your clients in the best capacity possible, you'd better understand every piece of it. And if you don't, take a lawyer friend out to lunch and ask them, hey, what does this mean? What does that mean? Ask your broker, ask your managing director. If you don't have that, make friends with an attorney. Trust me, guys, the best, highest producing real estate agents and commercial brokers out there, they have a team. You want to be a one-stop shop. You want to have the commercial real estate attorney. You want to have the environmental company. You want to have the insurance guy. You want to have all the people that your potential client needs, so that it's just like Walmart. You know, if you want soap, you want soda, you want milk, you want to buy a tent to go camping, you want to buy a bean bag for your kids, right? Like Walmart's the place. It's going to have everything under one roof. You want to be the Walmart, right? Or Target if you're a little bit fancier, right? If you're bougie. But the point is, guys, you want to be the person that everyone goes to. And so if you need to have someone on your team that knows this stuff, and make sure you get hip to it, know all your paperwork, all your contracts, absolutely cold, so you can serve your clients in the best capacity possible. Next up, do not make the mistake, and this is the huge one, guys. This should probably be like top 3 or top 4, okay, of not qualifying buyers and tenants. Now, for those of you that know me and have gone through any of my trainings, right, you hear me go on and on and on and on about not working with buyers and tenants once you get past a certain point in your career. Reason being is buyers can run you around in circles and then change your mind overnight and ghost you. And all that time you spent investing in that relationship is gone, and they won't even answer your phone call, okay? Tenants do the same thing. They'll have you running all over the place, and then they say, you know what, we're just decided to go re-sign with our landlord for another year. It stinks, guys. It's the worst. So the best way to avoid that is to qualify them. Think of it this way, guys. Think of it like, why should they deserve your time? Reframe that in your mind. And guys, you know, I was guilty of this absolutely in the early parts of my career. It was like, oh, please, can I have a piece of work? Oh, please, can I have this lease assignment? Oh, please, can I work with you as a buyer? No. As brokers and agents, we have 2 things to sell. Guys, can you tell me in the chat what the 2 things we have to sell in? If you come to any of these trainings, you should know it by now. We have 2 things to sell. One begins with a T, the other begins with a K. Tell me, who's going to get the gold star today? Boom! Love it. Someone's been listening. Alex, Rosa, Olga, yes. I have current students on here. I have previous students on here. Guys, you have your time and your knowledge to sell. The reason why we can make so much money in this business is because we are highly leveraged. We have 0 skin in the game except our time and our knowledge. But you better use it wisely. Okay. So when someone says, hey, Alex, I need you to go out and find me a 10,000 square foot space with, 50-foot column spacing and 26-foot clear, blah, 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 blah. Your first answer shouldn't be, okay, cool, and then start doing a LoopNet search. It should be, oh, John, that sounds great. Why don't we do this? I find it works best if we have a meeting so I can take a look at your current facility so I can understand a bit about how your business works so that we can make the selection process as smooth as possible. That sound like a plan? Cool. I have 4 o'clock available tomorrow or 2 o'clock on Thursday. Which works better for you? Okay, cool. So what you just did, guys, is you just saved yourself hours and hours. Because when you get there and you go to Bob's warehouse, right, you get to see, does he have the parking he needs? Is his warehouse super duper full? Does his staff have enough place to go? Do they have room for the trucks to turn around? Is the warehouse packed full of pallets and they have no room to put anything anywhere, right? These are all the things in a 10 or 15 or 30-minute visit that you will see that Bob might not think to see, right? And guys, we do this stuff all day, every day. So the things that we would pick up on, there aren't enough, most times Bob's not going to want to stay on the phone with you for an hour while you go through a list of 50 questions. But Bob will have you to his place and give you 15 to 30 minutes of his time so that you can see what works. Ask them what they like about the facility. Ask them what they don't like about the facility. Ask them what their biggest challenge is. Ask them what the most important part of the new facility is to them. Okay, guys? Because what you're trying to understand is why. Bob convinced me why I could take my time and spend it looking for you for a place. Because if Bob has a want, but not a need, okay? If Bob's like, this place would be nice, guess what? He's not worth your time. But if Bob has employees out in the union, I went to a place one time. Literally, one of the employees had a garbage can turned upside down and they were using their laptop on it because there wasn't enough office space. That's a guy that has urgency. But if Bob's like, yeah, I got 5,500 square feet and I prefer to be in 5,000, and guys, save yourself some time. But if the guy's in 5,000 and he needs 12,000 and his trucks are lined up and they can't load and unload and he can't get a forklift through the door because there's so many pallets stacked up, those are the type of people you want to work with. So don't make this mistake of not qualifying. You got to qualify them whether or not they need the facility, and you have to qualify them whether they're ready, willing, and able, and that comes down to money. Willing is, do they have the urgency that's going to light a fire under their butt so they get to a new place? And the able is, can they afford it financially? Ask them what they're currently paying. Ask them what their budget is for the new place, right? If someone's looking to buy, you want to save yourself some time, send that person to your banker, okay, who's already on your team. Because like I mentioned, you gotta build a team out, guys. Get to know who the best people are in the area and work with them over and over again. Those are the guys that on a Sunday afternoon will pick up your cell phone call when a deal's falling apart. Work with the same people over and over. You give them loyalty, they will give you loyalty. I have an attorney that no matter what time of day I call him, he picks up his cell phone for me because I've given him a bunch of business, and it's the way one hand washes the other. What I would love to see you guys do is build out that team. Like for instance, you're trying to qualify someone, pick up the phone. Hey, Johnny. Hey, listen, I'm going to send this guy over to you. Let me know if he's capable of taking down, $1.8 million of a property, because I want to make sure that we're looking in the right area. What sense is it to show people buildings at $1.8 million if they can only afford 900,000? You guys with me? So a banker will be able to take a look at someone's, their W-2s or whatever for their business, any of their financials well, the W-2s on the personal side, but for the business, like the P&Ls and stuff, if they can't afford it, it is a complete and utter waste of time. And the only thing we have to sell is our time, right? And our knowledge. So what you want to do is qualify them for the need and qualify them financially from the beginning. And the best way to do it is send them to a banker you trust. Because if they say, oh, no, I got my own banker, guess what? They're on their team. You want them going to the banker on your team. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up if this is making sense, like if this is helpful for you, like these little things. Because one of these things that we're going to go over tonight, if you just implement one, there's a very good chance that you're going to be able to cut, you're going to add hours and hours. Because think about what one wasted per person would be. Like with a buyer, you do a search, you're back and forth on the phone, you're sending emails, they're getting in your car, or you're meeting them in places, you put together a tour. Tours take a couple, 2-3 hours to set up and go on, right? So end of the day, guys, you're one of these things could pick up a half a day for you, in terms of time not wasted working with someone who's not qualified. So far so good? Sarai? All right, cool. All right, next up, right? Not knowing what your time is worth. This is a good one, guys. Most people do not understand what their time is worth. And I'm gonna take that a step further. If you are doing a low-level work, right? If you do not have an admin, you are one. The very first thing I recommend when the ball starts getting rolling for you guys, even if you have to hire someone that's like freelance for 2 hours a day from the Philippines, and they work for $6 or $8 an hour, right? By all means, get some help to do the lower level things like putting things on the MLS, putting things on LoopNet, creating flyers, putting together contracts, this type of stuff, right? Do me a favor right now, okay, whatever that number is, what you want to make next year, okay, take that number and divide it by 2,000. And do me a favor, guys, everybody, go ahead and put that in the chat. Put whatever that number is in the chat. So for instance, you guys all give me the gap. So whatever you want to make next year, divide it by 2,000. Eric, what do you got? Alex, what do you got? Mark, what do you got? Talk to me, fellas. This is just the top of the in here. Olga, Rosa, Christy, what do you guys got? Kristen? Let's see what we got. Because this is illuminating, guys. 50 an hour, 125 an hour, $100 an hour, 18 cents an hour, Kristen? Did you mean 180 an hour? 125, 50 an hour. Love it, love it. Okay. I'm pretty sure that decimal point was supposed to be someplace else. But I got you. I'm with you. Guys, when you let's take I'm gonna say Christy, for example, right? $125 an hour. What does that mean? That means that if Christy does anything during the 40 hours a week that she works, like who in this business works only 40 hours a week? Well, let's just assume it. If she's doing anything during the 40 hours a week that is not worth $125 an hour, guess what? It is dragging down the average earnings per hour, okay? By understanding what our time is worth, you will start thinking differently. For instance, I'll use Christy, for example. Would you ever, in a million years, rip up a $25 or a $20 bill and throw it in the garbage?
Not today.
Exactly. Any day. I don't care how much you make, you would never do it, right? But think about this. $125, you divide that in half, with that $62.50, right? Something like that. Yeah. So divide that in half again, $62.50, what's that? $31.75, okay? Would you ever have a 15-minute conversation at some point in your day with a coworker or someone at the office or someone by the water cooler, or, you know what I mean? Like goof off, even if it's 2 7-minute conversations. My point is, when your time is worth $125 an hour, guess what? A 15-minute conversation just cost you $32. Did that hit a little different, guys? Did that make you say, whoa, your time is literally money, okay? And I know we all have that one person in the office that's not doing all that well, and they're a constant distraction and they're pull you off your game. Show of hands, guys. How many of you have ever had that person in your office? Type of 1 in the chat. If you've ever had someone in your office that like, they're not doing a whole lot, and it seems like they try to like bother you and talk about personal stuff or what TV show and this and that, blah, 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 right? I'm willing to bet like everybody here, okay? Seriously, guys, distractions are the biggest time and money waster, okay? So think about it. For all of you that are like $100+ an hour, let's just say $100 an hour. Every 15-minute conversation or 2 7.5-minute conversations, that's $25 that you just lit on fire, and you will never get that time back, okay? So the interesting thing about this, right, is once you know what your time is worth, then you'll know how to leverage your time so that you're doing the most important things in the business, right? Can anybody tell me it's P, and it's F? Can anyone tell me what those 3 things mean? The 3 most important activities in your business that you should be doing the majority of the time. Who's going to get the gold star today? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Oh, but you should know this. Josh, ooh, there we go. Ooh, Alex has been paying attention. Prospecting, not prospecting, that is good though, but there is nothing more important than prospecting, presenting, and following up, right? Think about it, guys. When you are out and you're making new contacts and you're getting in front of those contacts and then you are following up with those contacts, guess what happens? You create new opportunities for yourself, and you are constantly banking new business. What stops your car from running? Not putting fuel in the fuel tank, right? Think of the prospecting that you do and those new opportunities you create is the fuel for your business. It's like putting food and nourishment in your body. If you stop eating, what's going to happen after a week or 2? You're going to get really, really sick, and you might even die. The same thing is going to happen to your business. So what you need to do is be able to clear as much of your day as possible so that you can be doing as much prospecting, presenting, and following up. And knowing what your time is worth is the first step in that direction. You guys with me? So why would you ever do something during your let's say $100 an hour day, right? Why would you ever do something that you could pay somebody else $12 an hour for, $6 an hour for? Why would you ever? Does that make any logical sense, guys? You with me? Does it make any logical sense? Right? So know what your time is worth. Okay. Next thing, don't make the mistake of not creating a call list or a to-do list the night before. One of the biggest problems people have is they come into the office unprepared. They show up and they're like, what am I going to do today? That's not how top performers work, okay? The way top performers work is they make their call list and their to-do list the night before. The reason being, guys, our brain is the most powerful supercomputer on the planet. I promise you. When you write your goals down for the next day, your brain automatically starts going through. You know, at night when you sleep, your subconscious kind of mulls over the activities of the day, and it filters out the things that aren't important from the things that are important, and it sets about connecting the dots for the problems that you have on your plate today. So if you start writing down, I got to call John Smith tomorrow about that follow up with him about the warehouse that he's selling. And you wake up in the morning, you might have a new angle on that John Smith about what you're going to say to him, or you're going to have a new idea, right? But if you don't if you show up in the morning and you're like, who am I going to call today? Guess what? John Smith is not top of your priority list because your brain wasn't working over that throughout the night. It's very, very important to make your call list and your to-do list the night before. Okay, this is one that came up. Signing NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and CAs, confidentiality agreements, without reading the fine print. Guys, I'm not here to name names, but There are sharks in this business, okay? There are companies out there that will literally, before releasing financials to you, okay, they will make you sign an NDA or a CA, or worse yet, they will make you give your client's name, phone number, and email before they give you the financials of a building. And so I think Kristen is nodding her head. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So we're not naming any names, but there are companies out there that are unscrupulous like that. And guess what happens next time they bring another building to market? Do you think they're going to call you up, Mr. Knight? Do you think they're going to call you up, Ms. Lata? No, they're going to go directly to that buyer that you brought them. That's why you got to be very, very careful what you agree to and how much information you give. And you might be locked out of doing a deal if you're not very, very careful. Okay? So very, very important. Here's the next best one, guys. What's that old saying? Mama said the best things in life are free, right? Doesn't cost much to pick up a phone and reach out and touch someone like the old AT&T commercial, right? On the residential side of the business, because everybody needs a roof over their head and everybody, needs a home of some sort, whether it's an apartment, buy or lease or whatever, or a home, a house. There's so many places out there that take and they aggregate this data and they'll package it and then they'll sell it to people. Okay. So many times I hear, I need to know where to get the leads. You can't buy the business. What you can do though, which is, it's only your time, is pick up the phone, reach out to people that you can help and offer your help to them over and over and over again. We talk about persistence prospecting. It's the name of my prospecting method. And basically it's prospecting, but it's also the follow-up method. Does anybody know what persistence hunting is, right? Persistence hunting is the reason why humans made it to the top of the food chain. Wolves do it and humans do it. Basically, the reason what persistence hunting entails is basically it's people that because we're bipedal, we can run pretty fast and we can keep moving and we will literally chase our prey down until they're fatigued and exhausted, and then we get to make the kill. This business is not unlike that. When I saw like this YouTube video about it the first time, I'm like, oh wow, that's a whole lot like what good follow-up looks like. Have you guys ever you just had someone just follow up with you so many times, you're like, man, okay, fine, you can just do business. The guy, did they just wear you out, right? It's like a siege. That's what you want to do. But you can't buy that in commercial real estate. But what you can do is you can be diligent about your follow-up. You can be diligent about picking up the phone and making new contacts, and the people whose contacts you made, stay with them, stay in their face, in their place, and in their space, because sooner or later, they're going to recognize that you are the person that they want to deal with, because they see how diligent you are. You are subconsciously sending them a message. Every time you follow up with them, you're saying, look at what I'll do when I have your building in my portfolio. Look at what I'll do when you're my client. All these things, they don't register immediately, but they'll see it over time. Very, very important. And it all goes back with, don't try to buy the business. You can't buy leads, but what you can do is you can be very, very diligent about follow-up. Next up, not learning to let the prospect speak and really listen. Okay. Now this is one I had to learn from experience, right? God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. That was not an accident. Okay. We should be listening more than we are speaking. We should be asking the right questions and listen for the answer. Here's what's cool. Guys, in this business, you have to understand, you need to, number one, listen for what the person is saying, but also listen for the things that they're not saying, okay? When you ask an uncomfortable question and someone shifts in their chair, they scratch their head, they move somehow or another, their limbic brain is saying, uh-oh, I'm a little uncomfortable, I don't want to answer this question. How many of you, and you might not even realize it, every time I ask a question that I know might be a little bit uncomfortable, and someone says, well, I mean, they're trying to stall and come up with an answer because they don't want to tell you the truth. Start paying attention to these little cues. And the only way you'll recognize these little cues, watch for a double blink, that their brain's stalling, trying to figure something out, okay? Watch for all these things, but you cannot get clued into them until you're actually really listening intently. So very, very important to be listening intently, okay? Next up, dun, dun, dun. Chasing huge deals in the beginning. I want to give a shout out to all the newbies in the business, right? And trust me, I did it too, okay? But have you ever seen a dog running after a school bus, right? My dog, Bentley, I love him. We had a little beagle. His name was Bentley. And he used to love to chase our school bus whenever they would pick us kids up from home. But the problem is, if Bentley ever caught the bus, he wouldn't know how to drive it, okay? And like a first or second year broker that's chasing after a $30 or $40 million deal with some like hedge fund or private equity fund or a REIT or whatever, guys, it's just not gonna happen, okay? And one of my first students, I kept saying to her, stop chasing the big deals, stop chasing the big deals. And the second she stopped doing that, immediately she started having success, because with the big deals, you're going to get your foot in the door, you're going to maybe have a couple conversations, and you're maybe going to get to step 3. But guess what? There's like 8 steps in this brokerage kind of continuum. And unless you're doing A, B, Z, X, Y, Z close, you never get good. You might do the A, B, C, and then you go back to the start. A, B, C, go back to the start. But I would much rather have you doing small deals that barely make you any money, but doing the entire continuum, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, close, make money, positive reinforcement. A, B, C, X, Y, Z, close, make money, positive reinforcement, right? What that does is that trains your brain how to get good and how to get better at things. But if you're only ever doing like the first couple of steps, you're never going to be giving your brain the positive reinforcement. You're not going to be putting very much money in your pocket, right? So many people, they see the size of these deals, they're like, wow, $20 million. You know, 1% on that is like 200,000. That's more money than I've ever made a year. Guys, be honest. And I'll admit, like that was me when I first started. I wanted to go after the big boys. How many of you have ever chased a deal that was outside of your skill set? But you did the math on it. You're like, oh my God, it's a huge amount of money. Come on, am I the only one? Come on. All right, there we go, Josh. Josh is the honest one. Okay, there we go. Jackie, okay, love it. Alex, yep. There we go. Guys, it's natural. If you didn't, I'd say you're in the wrong business. It's okay. What you're trying to do is you're trying to up your skill set. That's why you're here, you know, listening to me and coming here every single week so that you can get something that you can implement into your business. So my biggest advice is don't chase huge deals in the beginning. Wait until you get a few things under your belt. I see Olga. Yes. Olga and I had many a conversation like that about these hotel deals and stuff like that. I absolutely remember. Yes. So yeah, guys, that's what it comes down to. You know, you got to be careful. Don't go after the big deals. I'd rather you hit base hits. For those of you that are baseball fans, anybody remember Pete Rose, right? Kelly, you remember Pete Rose, buddy? Yep. Why was Pete Rose? He unfortunately had a little gambling problem, so he didn't make it to the Hall of Fame. But why was he Hall of Fame material? Because he set the record for getting on base more so than anybody ever. He got more base hits, bang, consistent. Pete Rose, I would love for my students not to be Barry Bonds or you know, any of these Sammy Sosas, right? They're knocking it out of the park. I would much rather have you guys get on base every single day. You'll make more money in the long run, and you'll have more consistency, and you won't be pulling your hair out when things are going to get a little bit slow. Because if you're always trying to knock it out of the park, you're not going to have a lot of consistency. Okay, you're always chasing the monster deals. Remember, guys, we have squirrel meat, we have deer meat, and we have whale meat. If you're only chasing after whales, guess what? You might hit some and you might eat for a long period of time, but there's also going to be some times there's not a lot of whales out there, and you're going to have a hungry belly, and you're not going to be able to keep the lights on. So it's important to have a mix of all things. Some base hits, some squirrel meat, some deer meat, and whale meat. Okay. Now, and finally, the last one, not having a mentor, right? I hope, it is my sincere hope, guys, that whoever the managing broker is at your company takes you under their wing, says, come on, you're coming with me, and I'm going to show you the ropes, and I'm going to give you all the attention and all the guidance that you need. I'm going to give you a structured training program so that you can get to where you're going as quickly as possible. It's my sincere hope. However, it's not always the reality of where people are. Sometimes people open up their own, are making they open up their own brokerage. Sometimes people are making the transition from residential over to commercial, and it's very hard to find. I created this program and because it's the thing that I wish I had my first day of brokerage. The first day you set your computer down, what do I do? What is the tactical, practical that's going to give me the most amount of business? So hopefully you have that, but do yourself a favor, guys, right? There's an old saying, the reason why we're able to see so far is because we stood on the shoulders of giants, right? People were able to read. How is knowledge passed down? From books. People were able to read about what Socrates did, what Aristotle said from 3,000 years ago, right? So we're able, that's how humankind developed, right? Why take the time to reinvent the wheel when someone has already done it and you can speed up? Because the one non-renewable resource in this entire life is time. You cannot buy it and you can never get the time back that you wasted. So with that in mind, remember that gap number, guys, that we talked about before, okay? I want to really, really drive this point home. Let's talk about the lifetime value of your skills. I want you guys to prioritize the development of your skills. This business, folks, has literally no cap. Literally no cap. The better your skill set is, the harder you work at it. No one is here to tell you. There's no boss to tell you what you can't make. There's no asking for a raise. You give yourself a raise every single time you pick up the phone, you take a listing, and you close a piece of business. That's how you give yourself a raise. It's awesome. So do me a favor, take that gap number and write it down on a piece of paper in front of you. Okay? Now, here's the next part, guys. Okay? How much longer do you plan on being in brokerage for? Do me a favor and type that number in. Go ahead. Olga, Rosa, Jesse, Jeff, Kelly, type that in. How long you plan on being in brokerage for? 25 years, 10 plus years, 25 years. Okay? All right. Keep going. Mark, 15 years, 20 years. Yes, 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 yes. 15 years. Yeah. 10 more. Love it. Good, good, good. Okay, guys. Now I'm going to blow your mind. So take that gap between what you know and what you need to know to make the money you want to make. Because if you think about it, that gap number is what you are paying life every single year to not know what you need to know. Okay. So do me a favor. So we got 20, 10, Jesse says 20, Chrissy says 25. Okay. Now everybody do me a favor, take that number and multiply it by your gap. Because one is how much longer you're going to be in brokerage for. And this is what's called the opportunity cost, guys. It's the price that you pay to life for not learning these skills. So if it was $100,000 that your gap is, what you pay life every year to not know these skills, and you're planning on being in for another 20 years, guys, that's $2 million. This isn't a $100,000 problem. This is a $2 million problem. Eric says $1.5 million. There you go. So 15 years at 100,000. Yep. Who else? Who else, guys? This is important. What I want you to do, I want the light bulb to go off for you guys. I want you, it's my sincere hope that every single time you come here, you walk away with a realization. I'm trying to shift your beliefs so you prioritize the right things and you develop your skills over time. Yeah, 7.8 million, 2.5, exactly, right? This is a lot. I mean, I don't know. To me, $7.8 million is a lot of money. Holy moly, is right. Oh, God, yeah, $2.5 million. That's what it's costing you to not know these skills. Okay, so that's what I wanted to drive home to you folks. Okay, so that's why it's important to come here every single week. That's why it's important to take one thing and implement it into your business tomorrow. Whether it's you figure out how you are going to qualify people better, whether it's you figure out how to build your team with the right lenders and the right attorneys and so forth. Whatever you need to do, I want you to get 2% better every week. If you get 2% better every week, you will wind up becoming 274% better in 52 weeks' time. Think about that, guys. It's the compound effect, right? Albert Einstein said the 8th wonder of the world is compounding interest. There's a compound interest on you getting better at your business. If you get your improvement, because it's not just 2% plus 2% plus 2%, it's 2% and then 2% on top of that 2% and then on top of that, so it grows like a snowball. Okay, guys? So whatever that number is to you, whether it's 2 million or 7 million or $1.5 million or what, that's what you're paying life back.